G'day fellas and welcome to the very first official casted game of Age of Mythology Retold. Now, it's not the first casted game, but it is the first official one because all the previous ones, they were betas and they were stress tests and they had stuff bouncing around the screen. Geez, remember the stuff bouncing around the screen and we wait for it to get to the corner like the DVD logo? Oh man, take me back to those days. Anyway, we've got ourselves quite a game today. If you haven't already seen the players that we've got in the game, you're gonna be enjoying yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, in the south of the map, in the color red, playing as Poseidon, it is Vortex. That is correct. There's our little zoom for you. And in the north of the map, in the color blue, playing as Isis, we've got Coverless Martellus. I tell you what, my zoom needs a little bit of work. I'm zooming through. Actually, I think the devs might have fixed the zoom. Oh yeah, they totally did. Oh, thank the lords they did. So because I'm zoomed out, when I try and zoom in all the way, it locks me at my default zoom, and then I can zoom all the way in. And by the same token, when I want to zoom out, it takes me up to my default zoom, then I can move all the way out. They fixed it, because that's the way it should work. It used to work like that, then it stopped working like that. Now it does work like that. Good job, devs. They're just checking things off the list. I'm loving it. Now, it's been a while since you guys would have heard my voice, unless you were watching my videos the other day that I uploaded. Idle, not showing up as Idle, annoying little Idle. This guy's technically a gatherer, but I think he might be stuck here. Not 100% sure. You can... Oh, yeah, you hate this. You hate to see it. Anyway, so you probably haven't seen a couple of videos or a video in a couple of days from me. I've been sick. I've been real sick. My whole family has been super duper sick. We've had influenza A. We got influenza A week and a half ago on Wednesday. And then it's been an entire week. So Wednesday to the next week. And then we're now on Monday. And I've said, you know what? I think I'm probably ready to cast a game without coughing up a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm feeling good. I'm looking good, not so much smelling good, but look, we'll talk about that later because we got some games to talk about today. We've got Vortex in the south of the map. If you're not familiar with this guy, an absolute pro, a giga chad when it comes to Age of Empires 4, Warcraft 3, StarCraft 2. What else does he play? Zero Space, Battle Aces probably, Stormgate, that's the other one that he plays. He plays them all, and he's a god at all of them. At the moment, he's just outside the top 50 when it comes to Age of Mythology. So I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how he looks to play it. Already, I can see it needs a little bit of work. You know, he's playing Poseidon. Maybe he's just playing all the civs and just going random and doesn't know how all the skills work. So naturally, he starts off by putting his granary down on his hunt when he doesn't actually realize that the lure acts as a granary already. It's a free drop site. So a little bit of a waste here, but that's okay. We'll get there. We'll get there. Now, Vortex is an incredibly aggressive player when it comes to Age of Empires 4. I'm curious to see whether it's going to end up being the same way that he plays in Age of Mythology Retold, and it looks exactly like we're going to get that. Have a look how early this age up time is. Really early. He went for a 15-15 age up. He's now got Theseus out, and he's looking to push the opponent early on in this game. Let's ride on board with him as he begins making his way across the map. We can see that age up's almost through. It's just going to be the Relic that he starts off with. We haven't even looked at the Relics yet. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our very first, our inaugural tier list, Relic tier list. We've got to start us off the Titan's Treasure. Reduce the cost of advancing to the next age or researching Secret of the Titans. It's a decent one. I'd actually have to math out the value on this, but I feel like it could be pretty good. I'm going to go with a solid A tier on this one. We've now got our Centaur beginning to move out onto the map as we see the next one, which is Archimedes' Ledger. Siege weapons take less population space, -1 pop count for each one. I'll say, look, it's pretty niche. Definitely good if you like spamming siege, but it's not that popular of a strategy in Age of Mythology. Unless you're Egyptians, then maybe you could look at doing that. But other than that, it's going to have to be a C tier for that. We've got the Kopesh of Horus. Heroes do more damage to myth units. Now, this is really dependent on your heroes. So as an example, if you're playing as Gaia and you've got some heroic Terma out, you might go from 4.5 up to 5.5, which is a nice little decent bonus. Nice little movement here as aggression comes out, forces his enemy off the hunt. Whereas if you're playing as the Greeks, your heroes have got a bonus of 9. So going from 9 to 10, it's not really that big of a deal. So I think it's very dependent on the civ that you play. A nice little whirlwind that comes in and out of vision there. So it's definitely dependent on the civ that you play. But I would say that it can probably go up to an A tier and be as low as a D tier, realistically. What else have we got on the map? The skulls of the Sarcopses. the skull of the Cercopes. It's the monkeys. It's an S tier. That's got to be it. And finally, Arrows of the Alpha. Arrows of the Alpha. What does it even give you? Hold on. Increases the ranged attack of buildings. Okay. Probably a little bit lower, I would say. Probably a D tier. Look, buildings are... Oh, actually, buildings are pretty good. And was it 20%? Okay. You know what? I'm taking it back. C tier. We'll call it C tier. All right. Well, Sphinx is slowly chasing away the scout. I tell you what, I feel like I'm still really getting into it. So apologies. It's going to take some time for me to feel comfortable here. I haven't been playing too much Age of Mythology. I'll tell you what, it's a bit disappointing because I was sick and all I wanted to do was play Age of Mythology. But I'm not even kidding. I was telling my wife this. It's like, all I want to do is I want to make content and I can't make content. And it's really frustrating for me. I'm watching Fitzbro. He's casting all these games. He's got his beautiful website, aom.gg. There's so many games on there. And so you know what I did? I jumped into the skirmish mode and I started practicing build orders and started getting replays ready for you guys so that, I've got some build orders to show you guys. And then the devs released a patch. And now all of the replays go out of sync. And I was like, you know what? I'm so sad. And I felt like I couldn't really play. I was telling my wife, I was like, I couldn't focus. I could see myself making mistakes and it pained me. So I've been playing a different game. It just kind of came out. It's called Deadlock. Well, it's not really out. It's a bit of a weird one. It's like a MOBA mixed with an FPS game. It's very strange. But I'm really enjoying it. Anyway, that's how I was keeping myself busy while I was sick. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring myself to do AOM because it just hurt too much to be watching myself make mistakes. Really passive game for us to open up with here. So starting out, we've obviously had 2 town centers coming in for both players. Very passive, which is not normally the way that you see Vortex play the game, or plays. It's not normally the way that you see Vortex play the game. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. We've also got some walls starting to come up from Vortex, which is another curious thing. We now start to hear it's going to be Prosperity coming through, so Carolus is looking for that age up, and of course that timing that we love to see from the Egyptians. Of course, there is undoubtedly going to be a wonderful timing attack here. This is something that the Egyptians are famous for. It is that powerful timing attack, and of course, going into Bast with the Sphinx, you're obviously going to have access to the Eclipse, and naturally look to combo that with a lot of units in the third age, in the heroic age. So at this stage, it's been a pretty simple opening when it comes to Vortex. We've got Theseus together with Atalanta, who I'm just going to be calling Atlanta, and the single centaur, but not a whole lot of aggression. And I feel like he probably could have been a lot more aggressive. So probably something that you got to really work you got to work the game out, right? Like you can't just run in balls deep every single time in every game, even if you're an absolute pro gamer. And I think this is probably going to be one of the strongest strategies that we do see in the game. It is the Greek no unit opening, or at least I shouldn't say no unit, but like no military production. Oh my lord, no military production building opening. It's a bit of a strong one, but it's like a 2 TC fast heroic. Except the only difference is you're utilizing your centaur and your 2 hero units to cause as much damage to the opponent and delay them while you're going for that 2 TC fast heroic behind it. And what's so strong about it is that once you get to the heroic age, you have so much power already in things like Aphrodite, even if you don't have access to Aphrodite, you've got access to the Manticore, which is another option. But we do have age ups now coming through. It's going to be Nephthys coming in for Kairos Martellus. And meanwhile, on the other side, what have we got coming through? Let's have a look and see. Here we go. Oh, it's Dionysus. So moving into Dionysus, interestingly, I guess I would call this probably one of the lowest one, right? Or at least I would say it's the lowest strength one. But perhaps we just haven't realized his full strength yet. Meanwhile, on the south of the base, or towards the west of the base, in fact, more towards the top, we've got the Triple Military Academy coming in. So it's going to be a whole bunch of hoplites that are starting to build up here. And a second Hydra is now looking to come out here. So 9 minutes into the game, a little bit of a slow one to start us off with. Not a huge amount of aggression. There's the second Hydra. Vortex could look to pick up some technology here, look to buff up the Hydra. Instead, going to be opting to buff up those hoplites. So we see them now starting to come through, picking up the heavy infantry upgrade. Meanwhile, the Migdal Stronghold is now online for Carolus Martellus. And it's going to be a whole bunch of camels that are coming out. We can see them making their way down. Scorpion Man as well is here. Looking just to find any villagers, ward them off. We're right on board with Vortex as he looks to defend against this aggression. Does have a couple of units making their way towards that top side, and we see the Hydra picks up the first kill. It's going to be a villager going down. Vills escape inside the town center. Meanwhile, towards that south side, we did see a couple of camels just outside the line of sight. Priest is here. Also, as well, got the Pharaoh looking to try and deal out some damage on that back line, and he's going to be able to find a decent connection here. Bronze comes out. There's a very low number of units here, but together we see Nephthys with the big Ancestors Eclipse combo now coming through. Really nice bait here, but at the same time, it's not necessarily bait. Huge amount of vills went down there. Huge amount. 5-6 vills potentially. I really like the addition of the Scorpion Man down here. You might think it's a bit weird bringing him, but you got to remember, he's got a decent movement speed. 6 movement speed, same as the camels. So he's basically a camel in himself. But really interesting decision to go for the bronze there. I think that was almost a bait. It almost certainly felt like it, to try and get that Ancestors Eclipse combo out, because the reality is Ancestors Eclipse isn't going to last forever. Neither is your bronze, but when the Ancestors Eclipse is finished, you're still going to have your infantry left. As long as you don't fight the Ancestors, you want to avoid that at all costs. We do continue to see the damage that is being done on the south side of the map here. Carlos trying his best. Eclipse still got 20 seconds, but the Ancestors about to drop dead, and there they go finally. I tell you what, I'm sure Vortex is breathing a sigh of relief after that. Heroes here together. Atalanta together with I'm gonna forget his name. Theseus. There we go. Theseus. We get it together. Well, don't worry. We'll get it eventually. Just remember, I'm an Age of Empires forecaster who's trying to make it big in Age of Mythology, and it's gonna take me some time to actually get used to everything. Now, another thing just to note going forward. So, after the immediate release of Age of Mythology, there's going to be a lot of Age of Mythology content on this channel, but the plan is to move back to Age of Empires 4 content as well. We've got a couple of big announcements that are going to be coming up shortly. So I don't want to undersell them or oversell them, or I'm not going to beat around the bush. You guys are going to like it. We'll say that much. We'll say that much. Anyway, Militia also joining the forces now. Of course, playing as Poseidon, you've got access to them. And any buildings that you lose, like this temple down here on the south side, you're going to be able to take advantage of those militia joining the forces, bolstering, getting yourself a little bit more damage at the front. Let's right on board over with our blue player. Let's go with that. I was trying to look for a word, viewer, victim, and I was like, why am I looking for V's here? Anyway, 2 TC still for him at the moment. Gone for a second Migdal Stronghold. Chariot's now going to start coming out. Got to be careful here, making Chariots up against these very powerful infantry units. But once again, another raid coming in on top of Vortex Goldmine. Camels together. Oh, jeez Louise. With the Scorpion Man just doing absolute work. Have a look at the Scorpion Man go. He is a happy little camper there. Just cleaning his claws on the back sides of his victims, and I guess celebrating the day. That's what you got to do. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to take a drink of my beverage. You might be wondering, what's on the menu this evening in the Aussie Drongo household? The good news is, it's water. Oh, man. And nothing goes as good as water does. It's just, I'm going to say it now. It's best in slot. It is best in slot. There's nothing, don't at me. You know, don't even, it's not even negotiable, really. It is bis. And that's pretty much it. All right, well, we got trade starting to come up for Carolus. Always dangerous when you look to get trade out, but you don't have that full wall up yet. But I feel like you can probably get away with it on this map, because even though you don't have the walls, you do have these natural barriers that nature is providing for you. So it means that your market should be okay. And at least those traders should have a bit of coverage. But now starting to push forward. Take a look at this. Interesting unit composition coming out. It's going to be full hoplites here together with the Hydras. The Hydra hoplite combo. We got 5 heads at the moment on them, but it will continue to rise the more damage these bad boys do. Fortress is coming down. If he wants to fight, he's going to have to, or if he wants to keep this fortress alive, he's going to have to fight right now. Not enough favor to throw down any more god powers, and continues his best just to hold this position. Fortress still coming up. 300 health left on it. Looks like it will be secured here in the center. Very aggressive. More and more units making their way up towards this top side. At the same time on the back, we've got the... Yeah, we've got Toxes that are coming out now. It's always hard to determine the Toxes. I'm always tempted to avoid them unless I'm playing Hades, just because of the free upgrades that you get with Hades. Make it so much more viable. Ceasefire now going to come through. And Vortex just going to say, you know what? Mind your own business. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a kiss. You know, in Age of Empires 4, we'd call this a sprinkled kiss. But in Retold, it's the Petrobolos goodbye. Poor little guy. You know what? We're having a little bit of a ceasefire. I'll have a bit of a drink, Drongo. Okay, I don't mind if I do. Good stuff. Really good stuff. Oh, how good is water? All right, so third TC being taken behind the scenes. Also starting to see some siege towers coming out now from our Egyptian player in the north. A little bit of a breakthrough happening. Couple melee, couple ranged units. Just looking to force his enemy off the gold vein for the moment. More walls coming up behind this, by the way. He is almost completely walled in, with the exception of that one gap towards the front. Apologies, we've missed a bit of action as Hydra number 1 has gone down. We're down to 2 heads. Never mind, we were down to 1 head for a second, but we've regrown that second one. Petrobolos turning around the wrong way. There you go, son. Siege Towers managing to do some decent damage, but getting taken out by the villagers. And now Toxotes on the back, looking to fight up against the remaining chariots that are there. The last of the Hydras goes down. Double Petrobolos working down the buildings as well. But the chariot numbers are looking good. He's going to have to fall back into the fortress if he wants to stay in this game. Indeed he does for the moment. Vill's cleaning up behind the scenes here. He's just rallying in siege towers at this point. Not able to find too much of a connection. This third town center now going to be under pressure as well from the Petrobolos. Toxote number is looking very healthy here for Vortex. No age ups coming through just yet. No mythical ages for either of these guys. They're just looking to spam out units non-stop here. Macro looking pretty good for both of them. Not a whole lot of resources in the bank. Less than 1,000 for both of them. That means they're macroing very, very well here. Toxotes against the chariots. You'd probably favor the chariots, but the Toxotes seem to be working a little bit of magic into it as the chariots do force them back. We've now got Hippolyta, who is coming out here, and a couple camels just walking their way through. You can see the importance of having those walls up. Look at... Oh, I didn't even realize. We've got units in the wood line, units on the gold mine. I thought these had been dealt with, or at least I thought they would have been dealt with by now, but it is not the case. Fortress down to about half HP. Meanwhile, towards the north, look at this classic Vortex. The 2 archer raid. You know, in Age of Empires 4, he does this with spearmen. That's the only difference. At least in Retold, he's got the respect of his enemy to do it with a couple of archers. More and more Toxes now starting to build up here. He's having a little bit of trouble, though, with the number of chariots. Meanwhile, he is starting to work up a little bit of extra favor in the back pocket. So a new temple did get added in somewhere. Here it is. 5 vills on it. Meanwhile, over towards the east, the chariot mass continues to fight off against the invasion of the enemy's second siege tower out on the field. I say second. This is like the 18th siege tower that we've seen this game. There's been a lot of siege towers this game. Not a whole lot of success with them. He's invested a lot of resources in siege towers, but hasn't made a whole lot of work. Where are the vills at the front here? I guess he's had to evacuate just because of the presence of chariots. But on the defense, Carlos is looking okay for the moment. I think he's going to be able to hold here. I don't really see how Vortex pushes through without going into the Mythic Age. To me, it doesn't seem possible. Now, looks like we've got ourselves a solid defense coming through for Carlos here. Third siege tower rallying in. Vill's going to be repairing up the town center as well. Meanwhile, Tox is focusing down the backline chariots, working them down one by one. Technically, in larger numbers, the Toxes should have their number, but the chariots, once they start getting all their upgrades online, become very difficult to deal with. Now, falling back across the map, the militia, together with the Toxes, realizing they're bitten off a little bit too much today. We'll have to find another way to make it work. Farming economy looking good. Back here for Vortex. Starting to get a bit worried for him. Where does he fall back now to? Looks like it's going to be on this south side. We're right on board with him as he begins the defense. 10 vills here. It's a decent number, but the siege towers continue to move forward. Melee units able to intercept. Able to take them out. We'll take a look and see what upgrades the Toxers are affected by. So one of the things to notice, he doesn't actually have his ballistics upgrade, at least from what I can see. If I press this button, yeah, he doesn't have ballistics just yet. So ballistics is going to allow him to make a guaranteed, almost guaranteed connection with his Toxers, and it's a really important upgrade to get. It just means that you're always going to be hitting those arrows, never going to be missing, at least most of the time. But now we start to see that forward Migdal stronghold getting placed down very close to where Vortex once had his own fortress. Still being chased away. It's a lovely combo that's coming out here from Karalos. When I say Karalos, I feel like I'm saying Karol. Oh gosh, that is an old reference. You know, what was that show? The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead. Now, talk about a TV show, right? You know, it's kind of weird because like I'm exposed to. Look, I've browsed a fair share of the internet, my fair share of the internet. I've seen a lot of bad things in my life. I'll say that much when it comes to the internet and like all of those rules. But watching The Walking Dead and trying to identify the part where they went wrong, I can't help but feel like it was Negan. Like, it was just so unnecessarily brutal. And I think it turned a lot of people off. And I think the show just went downhill from there. Anyway, that's my hot take. You can at me for that. I'll let you. But, yeah, that was a show. Carol. You never knew if he was saying Carol or Coral. So, interestingly, we've got Mythic Ages coming through for both players. The first one is going to be Artemis coming through here for Vortex. On the other side, we've got Thoth, which is an incredible way to end a game. If there's ever been a way to end a game, it is through Thoth. There is nothing greater that makes a person go, you know what? I think that's it, than Thoth. You are about to be witness to a meteor and a half. It is going to land smack bang right here. He could always go in the back way if he wanted. But you can see he's struggling a little bit here. Meanwhile, on the same side for Artemis, not a whole lot in the way of aggression, at least as far as I can remember. Look at the chariots just tearing apart the Toxers. They're going to have to fall back away from this front line. Fortress going to be going down. No. Age Up comes through. It's Vortex up with Artemis. Earthquake. Now, keep in mind, Earthquake's going to look amazing right here, except for the fact it doesn't really do any damage to those military units. So you're not that worried. Now, where is it? There it is. I clicked on it and it said oak tree. Like, no, my friend, that is not an oak tree. I will tell you now, this is one of the most dangerous birds of prey you'll ever see. It's not a bird. It's not a plane. I mean, technically, it's probably a bird. It's a phoenix. There it is, baby. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. I'm not even going to count them. There's so many of them. A little bit of a weird bug right here that happened. I don't know. It's not displaying. Manages to take out the fortress. Now Tox is going to continue pushing forward. He's got upgrades on the way through as well. Keep in mind, champion range soldiers are coming in. But Valley of the Kings will surely be on the way here for our Egyptian player. He has gone up through Thoth. You hear all those farms being created now in the background. Vortex trying his best to defend. The Phoenix is now coming through the base. Keep in mind, even if you take it out, you're still going to have to take the egg out as well. The egg will rebirth the Phoenix if it is not dealt with. Toxus should be able to deal with it. A little bit of damage coming in here. There's the egg on the ground. Let's see if Vortex knows. Now looking to pick up a couple more upgrades. We see he's got... Excuse me. Unfortunately, I've still got a bit of a cough going on. It does go down. The egg has been dealt with. Vortex did not get egged today. Militia moving forward. Champion Chariot Archers online as well. Tox is trying their best to defend here. I'm somewhat curious why he hasn't actually moved. Where's our archery range? Here it is. I don't know what this is all about. I was trying to see the archery range, but curious that he hasn't gone into... I want to say, is it the Peltas? I'd have to double check. Maybe that's at my barracks. I apologize, guys. I'm not a Greek main. I'll get there eventually, I promise. I'm actually a Gaia main. Continuing to push forward, though. Tox is just getting eaten alive. And you can see right now how hard this is for Vortex. Vortex is on 2 town centers, and he feels really good about himself. The only trouble is he's very close to maxing out, and his opponent's on 4 town centers, which means you've got a lot of extra space to play with when it comes to population. It means more chariots to come out. It means more villagers on the map. It means more traders on the backside. In Vortex, we see him actually looking to harass trade. Decent numbers on this trade as well. 77 gold. Beautiful distance on this town center. About the best you could ask for, realistically. I mean, you could technically ask for the edge of the map, but I don't know how many maps would give it to you. Continuing just to pump out units. What do we got with regard to upgrades? Champion elephants on the way. Not a whole lot of other upgrades coming in. Just looking to spam Toxes as much as he can. Beautiful macro in the late game from both of these guys. But Vortex is starting to wear out. Down 100 population now, the difference between these two. It is stark. Meanwhile, towards the east, the trade continues. The monument to the villagers is up, protecting the trade line. Economy looking very healthy here for Carolus. And it's GG with Vortex tapping out. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is your very first casted game of Age of Mythology Retold without anything bouncing around the screen. Let's take a quick look at the map, get a bit of a gander and see how it was going. So we had the 1, the 2, the 3, and of course the 4th final TC. A lot of Migdal strongholds here in the middle. 1, 2, 3. Also had the 2 that were back here, nice and safe. So really well played there from Carolus. Unfortunately, Vortex going down. But just remember, Vortex is an incredibly competent RTS player, and I'm confident if he puts his mind to it, he's going to do very well in Age of Mythology Retold. I wonder if he's looking to try and qualify for Red Bull. We'll take a look at the timeline. All resources. No, that's not what we want. We want all resources collected. There we go. So, in the end, it says Drongo versus Vortex. It's not the case. Look, I don't think I've ever beaten Vortex. I don't think I have. It's not the case here today. It was Carolus who was able to pull it out. Anyway, we'll leave it there. And, of course, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.